So I wasn't going to talk about this obnoxious pig because really, why should we pay him any attention if Meghan isn't? But I think there's a bigger social conversation to be had about Piers Morgan's behaviour towards Meghan, and I'm not going to examine it in as much detail in this video as I will in a future one that I'm working on, but I'm going to touch on a few points. I think that Piers Morgan embodies the worst of British culture and toxic male behaviour, the feeling that he is entitled to a woman's attention, the bullying that has become a blood sport, the yelling, bobbling head on the TV, stoking the flames of division, and being a mouthpiece for the elite and establishment. And I think even for the establishment, he may have taken things too far and become a little bit of a loose cannon. I actually think that Piers Morgan has gotten away with so much for so long that he thinks he is untouchable and that he can overstep even those in the higher echelons of the establishment because he knows a lot of their secrets. Those of you who may not know much about Morgan's career prior to him being a professional Meghan Markle basher, let me inform you and make no mistake about it. Morgan knows a lot about politicians and officials in the British establishment. He was the editor of the Daily Mirror. He's got ties with the likes of Rupert Murdoch. He must have seen a lot of dirt come across his news table over the years. And it's one of the reasons why he's gotten away with so much. He can leverage connections and secrets, and that can help you claw your way up to the top and stay there for a while, but eventually you just make yourself a target. And I think there are many who would now like him to, shall we say, shut up and disappear, and he may have used up all his trump cards. There's a point which you make too many enemies, and I actually think he needs to start treading more carefully, but I don't know if his ego will allow him to do that, because his power and popularity, which I honestly think is highly inflated and the result of clever PR campaigns, is fading. It doesn't seem like anyone wanted to scoop him up after he left Good Morning Britain. Anyway, as we know, he made some very disparaging comments about Meghan's suicide revelations. He said that he didn't believe her, and whether or not you believe Meghan is actually just irrelevant. He is a TV host on a major network which has ties with mental health awareness campaigns, and people who may be suicidal could have been watching what he said, and imagine how invalidating that must have been for them to hear that. He exited the show after he was called out by another presenter. Now, I've always believed that he left by his own accord, stomping off like a baby to get headlines because everything has to be about him, and that along with his PR people, they wanted to create a whole circus to extend the Morgan versus Meghan narrative, which is entirely a one-sided battle in his head because Meghan has not paid this man any dust. There's been talk about whether or not he will come back to Good Morning Britain since Ofcom decided that the complaint that was issued against him did not meet the codes of violation. Now, as of making this video, it seems like he hasn't been given an offer to go back, but don't think that the whole will he or won't he guessing game isn't also part of an elaborate PR campaign, and that they are maybe planning on bringing him back. Now, in the event that he doesn't come back, and he may not, my guess is that maybe, just maybe, ITV see him as too much of a liability. But also, and this is just my theory here, let's remind ourselves again of who was involved in the 40x40 campaign. Look at this list. This is a who's who of who has Meghan's back. This was an F around and find out moment, and ITV essentially being an entertainment show, I don't know if they want to align themselves too closely with anyone who is known to be so boastfully anti-Meghan and whose only hat trick now is bashing her, and other prominent women of colour also. Morgan has recently come after Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles, who have both been publicly battling with mental health issues, and it would appear that's all he's done since he's left. Pretend to be a victim of speech suppression while at the same time doing nothing but bash women, particularly women of colour. He is a one-trick pony, and more people are starting to see it, that he has nothing to offer. Absolutely nothing. And this is what 30 years of being mediocre and using every opportunity to further only yourself while throwing others under the bus looks like. 30 years in media, and this is what you're reduced to. Your wife and your son defending your buffoonish behavior. I am embarrassed for his wife. Instead of resting in her femininity, she's out here defending a man who can't keep another woman's name off of his lips. Then again, if he doesn't stop talking about Meghan, I guess there will be no new designer handbags for the wifey. That is all I'm going to say on that. And like I said, I'm working on a very, very detailed video about Piers Morgan, his career, and also his one-sided in his fantasies battle with Meghan, because there's a lot to say. Anyway, I'm going to end on something a lot more positive and that I think is actually going to be useful to you and your lives. On my YouTube channel, there is a section where I post regular updates. And if you've been looking at that section, you'll know that I have created a new emergency preparedness guide, which is now on sale. A link in the bio if you want to purchase it. If you sign up to the newsletter for a limited time only, I will be giving 10% off for the guide. And it is essentially a guide to prepping for emergency situations. It has never been more important to implement this into your life. The world is changing, my darlings, and if you're not reacting to that change, you're going to get left behind. We're exiting one pandemic, but it doesn't mean that there won't be others, and it may not necessarily be a virus. It could be a cyber attack. One of America's biggest meat plants was hacked recently. It could be climate change. Extreme weather is getting more and more extreme and frequent. It could be economic collapse. Right now, as we speak, inflation is rising and the value of fiat currency, especially the dollar, is sinking. There is talk of possible food shortages coming this fall. So you have to be prepared. And I really do stress that we shouldn't live in fear. I'm not a fearmongerer, but I'm also a realist, and we shouldn't live in ignorance either. And you should not rely on others, especially the government, to come and help you when something is wrong. Because as we're seeing over and over again, they may not come quickly or at all. And if you have everything in place, you can carry on as normal, knowing that you're not going to be in a catfight over toilet paper if the crap ever hits the fan again. This modern day grid that we live on and these supply chains that keep it running have never been more technologically advanced, but also they have never been more vulnerable, and you need to make sure that you're not at the mercy of the grid if anything goes wrong. I've tried to make it as affordable as possible. It's only $9.99. That is a very small investment to ensure your security. It's taken me weeks to finish this guide, so I also have to be fair to myself. But if you sign up to the newsletter, I will be sending lots of free advice also. And even if you don't purchase my book, I want you to please, 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 I beg of you, to start looking into preparedness and implementing it into your lifestyle. One of the great things about being prepared is that you free up resources, like for example Central World Kitchen that Harry and Meghan supports. You free up services like that for those who are less fortunate, and that alone, along with your own security, is a great reason to be a prepper. This is something that I've become very, very passionate about and that I want to get other people involved in. So if it's something that you're interested in, you don't have to buy the book or you don't have to buy it now, but you can sign up to the newsletter and I will be sending loads of regular free advice. That's all for this video, my lovelies. See you in the next one. I'm behind on videos, so expect a few today and probably a few tomorrow because I have quite a bit of Harry and Meghan news to catch up on. So see you soon. Ciao.